University of Law podcast and to the second episode of our new series all about online studies. My name is Navdeep Chouhan. I'm the Director of Online Programs here at the University of Law. And with me today is Danielle. Hey, Danielle.
Hi, Nav. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Before we commence, would you please just tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, as you said, my name is Danielle. I am a business owner. I've been primarily in the recruitment industry for over 12 years now. And I took the jump into studying approximately 4 years ago. And more recently, decided to undertake a master's. And now I'm studying online with the University of Law.
Fantastic. And you took the leap from, assuming you went from employee to owner. Was that the story there, Danielle?
Yeah, that's right. So I was working with a recruitment company for approximately 10 years. And then lots of changes happened around when COVID hit. And the directors at the time decided that they were in a great position to retire and decided to sell the company. So I was fortunate enough to be presented with an opportunity to take over as director with a couple of colleagues. And it was a huge learning curve going from, an employee, and even while I was working at management level for quite a long time, but going from being an employee to an employer was a huge leap, which is why I wanted to study. I chose to study human resources and learn more about leadership types and how I could be the best business owner and how I could, lead my people to be successful in the company that I own. So it was great, but it was certainly a challenge.
What a fascinating and an inspiring story.
Thank you.
You're going from employee to business owner. Sounds pretty much overnight as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, it did all happen quite quickly, which I sometimes think it's a good thing because you can, if you ask too many questions, I think you can prevent yourself from taking that leap. But it's a great thing that's happened, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm on a continuous journey that I'm thriving.
Fantastic. I think we're going to unpick that a little bit further in the next few moments, but just share with me and the listeners, you're currently studying an online business master's in human resource. Mm-hmm. Talk me through, motivation can be quite difficult when you're studying online. What techniques do you use whilst undertaking the program?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I think motivation means something different to a lot of people. I'm a really self-motivated person, which it sounds great on the surface, but I think I also find it very easy to procrastinate or put too much pressure on myself. So in terms of motivation, for me, I know that I'm bettering my own career. I know that I'm bettering my financial capabilities. I'm bettering myself as a leader, which will have that domino effect on the people that I'm leading. But in addition to the self-motivation I have, something that the University of Law have, which I think is fantastic, and unfortunately a lot of universities aren't quite there yet, but you have a lot of opportunity to network with like-minded people or learn from people that actually have more experience than you or less than you. And it's really opportunistic, I think, to take tips from other people and understand their motivations and have that guidance with an online community. So I think that's also been great for me.
I couldn't agree more. I think the network piece is really poignant during our live sessions with lecturers each week that we have, where actually you get to meet with other like-minded individuals, but also as academics as well when we're delivering these sessions and facilitating these sessions. It's
of course.
To hear the different stories and the different backgrounds, the different opportunities and challenges our students have faced, and you don't feel alone at all.
No,
I feel you feel a part of a community, an online community, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And even during the live sessions weekly, it's really great to have the enthusiasm coming through from your lecturers. And the lecturers that I've fortunately had the experience of to date have been so knowledgeable, but not just that. They're not just knowledgeable and have high levels of qualifications. They're also really passionate about what they're teaching. And it's very hard to not be motivated when you're talking to somebody that has such enthusiasm for the subject matter, because naturally everyone can remember those days in school when you were learning a subject and you felt bored or you felt really disengaged. And that's massively detrimental to anybody learning. But I've had the complete opposite at the University of Law, and it's been a breath of fresh air, really. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Great. So you're studying online, running a business. How do you manage your time? So how do you balance all of these really important commitments in your life? How do you balance this all out?
Yeah, it's really tricky to balance things sometimes. But what I find really helpful, and a lot of people I can imagine can relate to this, whether you're working full time or you might have young children or older children, most people have a lot of things to fit into their life, and you can easily say, I don't have time for that. And when I get home from work, and by the time I've finished and switched off from work, I then have my study time. But what I have found really beneficial is on the platform that you provide, everything is pretty much outlined for me. So I can actually apply my time without having to structure it. So I don't have to think, well, what should I read now? What should I be researching? What do I need to write about? All the information I need to succeed is right in front of me. So it's outlined you have activities it will tell you what to prepare for, engagement activities, consolidation. So the structure is provided for you by the university. And whether you're, I'm a really organized person. So ordinarily, I wouldn't have an issue putting that structure together. But at the end of a long day, or whilst balancing it with working and running a company, it's really, really helpful to have that, because I quite literally pop my Elite platform open and look at where I'm at and say, oh, okay, I've already done my prepare activities. Now I just need to read this document, answer those 4 questions, and then I'm done. And I found that really, really helpful.
Fantastic. And it's the platform we use, as you've mentioned, is Elite. And we use that for all of our online delivery, which is also complemented with some live sessions with the lecturer. I think it's also helpful as well at the start of the program, you get almost kind of a year planner, those key dates of when term's going to start and end.
Yes.
You know when your assessment periods are, and you get that for whether you're studying 1 year or 2 year or a number of years. You get it for the whole duration of your program at the beginning. So it makes planning all those commitments that you have coming up, fitting it around study, which is really, really key. Talk me through then an average week, Danielle, for you. So talk me through what's your teaching schedule like? How many hours do you kind of do for preparation? How many hours do you do after your sessions? What's a typical week for you?
So typically, I will, in terms of I tend to be in the office working between anywhere 8-4, 9-5, Monday to Friday. So I fit all of my studying in either in lunch breaks or evenings and weekends. Typically, I will spend a good sort of 5-6 hours reading and researching, and sometimes even like double that time. But I do find the preparation and the reading, I'm actually doing that on a daily basis without realizing it. So a lot of the research I have to do for my modules are things that are coming naturally in my job. And because I'm so interested, it might be that I receive an article from the CIPD, and before I know it, I've spent an hour reading through the website, and that is part of my learning. So I think I can very easily crank those hours up throughout the week. And I'm constantly, absorbing information, which I'm then using to bring to a live session. Then we have sort of engagement activities, which are completely separate and completely different to the reading, but it's thought-provoking. So a lecturer will provide you with questions, and it might be that you have to engage with your fellow students. It could be that you're having to research further on a subject. It might be that you have to write a few words in sort of essay format that you can then talk about in your lecture, and it's really helpful to do that prior to your live session, which I have 2 per week usually. So it's normally about 2 hours of live sessions. And they tend to be either an evening or it can be a lunch break. So they're structured in a way to suit people that are doing online learning, which is great. And then the final activities that are involved each week are your consolidation. So it might be sort of reflecting on topics that you've talked about. It might be doing, further analysis of questions you've been provided with. But what I really like about the way it's formatted is, naturally with any level of education, that the more, the higher up you get, the more research you have to do. It's expected of you, and you know that you've got to put the work in, but it's really flexible. And I find that immensely beneficial to me, because I I don't always have a structure to my week. But being able to fit it in as and when, the only thing that has more of a regimented impact are the live sessions, and that's 2 hours out of a week, so it's not a lot of time. Everything else I can fit in whenever I have the time to do so.
And in lots of those cases, those live sessions are recorded as well, so you're able to pick up on those after the session has concluded.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, perfect, brilliant, Danielle. Thank you. So just want to, again, running a business, studying your program as well alongside family commitments. Downtime. Do you get time to take regular breaks? Do you reward yourself? How do you do that? How do you fit that all in?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I think is really important. And I think when I first started studying online, I was probably too harsh on myself and I put these huge expectations on me. But after speaking, and again, it shows you the importance of networking, but speaking to people that have already achieved a master's or a degree online, they made me realize actually there is always a balance, and having that downtime, is really important, because I find it might be that you mentioned earlier about the year planner. That's great to use because I can structure holiday time around that. If I want to go away for 2 weeks with my family, for example, and then you come back and you're well rested. And I do make sure that I have, regular breaks between modules. And that's structured really, really well in the planner. So when you finish one module, you have at least 2 or 3 weeks to switch off before you dive into another. And in addition to that, each week, after I've been doing it, I'm a year into my course, and I think I've got a great balance now. I still go to the gym. I still see my family. I socialize. I don't feel like I can genuinely say I haven't actually had to sacrifice any other areas of my life in order to do this. And that's something I didn't think I'd be able to say, but that's been very important to me.
So study has fitted really well around your weekly activities.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it hasn't prohibited or caused any barriers, but actually it's enhanced it, and you've been able to maintain that balance.
Yeah, definitely. And I think naturally when you've got an essay looming or an exam, you'll always have that extra bit of pressure. Everybody would expect that when you're studying. But I think aside from that, the day-to-day or the week-on-week is definitely manageable. And I think you just need to apply yourself, and you need to get the balance right. And I think that can be really, really helpful.
Fantastic. And Danielle, talk me through how do you feel a part of the program in the university? So as an online student, one may assume that you're in isolation and you're on your own. Is that the case? Or do you feel like you're part of the program team and the University of Law team? Do you feel like a part of a wider community?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question, actually, because I think that would put a lot of people off that worry that they're going to be doing it alone. But actually, there is a huge community out there that is you can choose what you do and don't get involved in. I'm always getting emails updating about any sort of community event or group that's happening that you can join or take part in. Your weekly live sessions that you're very much encouraged to take part in those, because you're having the opportunity to chat and interact with people that are doing the exact same course as you, and you can bounce ideas off each other and you can support each other. And I remember doing my first module, and I connected with a fellow student just through the live sessions, and actually we chatted briefly outside of that, and it was actually enjoyable. It actually became friendly because you'd be interested in what each other have got to say, and you can learn from each other. And I think the online community, the way things are in modern day, it's huge. There's so many opportunities to meet people, to learn more, and to engage and interact. And I also like the fact that people are interacting all over the world. I've got people on my course that live in a completely different area to me. And so I think it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter where you are, or where you are in the world, or where you are in terms of your studies. There are people available that you can network with, and I think that's really important.
That sounds great, Danielle. Talk me through some of your have you enlisted any support or academic support during your time on the program. What's been your experiences of some of the support teams that are available to you?
So I haven't used an awful lot of them, but I have definitely rinsed the Elite platform in terms of what's available, and there is plenty. Things that I've used personally would be the skills training. So, for example, if you haven't studied in quite a while and you're not really sure about referencing, for example, there are workshops that you can join. There are online videos to watch. There are different, for example, one of my modules, I had to write a journal, and I thought, I haven't written a personal journal in ages. I'm not really sure what kind of format to do, or should I write it in the first person? Silly questions that you might stumble on. But again, looking at the platform, that's all available with the videos, and that the platform's great for that. The skills you can obtain are brilliant. But I think the most important that has been extremely beneficial to me is the feedback and the one-to-one that you get from your lecturers or your development coach, because that's tailored specifically to you. So not only is there a huge platform of information that you can search for and you can find, there's also individual help. So if there's something that you're worried about, or I don't know, it could be positive. I had feedback from a lecturer that actually gave me a huge boost, and I thought, this is really lovely. It's really nice to have that personal feedback, which again, I didn't think I'd get online, but with you guys, that's something I have had.
I think feedback is a really important point, because as online students, we have students from a range of different backgrounds. People who have continued study from their college or sixth form or whatever. We have students who have come from education which was many, many years ago, so they're it feels like it's quite new for them to come back into education. So being able to offer all students the ability to gain feedback, which then helps them not only understand how they performed on that assignment, but also helps them for when they're then preparing their next assignment, particularly around academic skills. But also, as you know, Danielle, we've also got a wide range of student support services across the university. We've got everything from our employability team, who run workshops and they do one-to-one coaching. Did you meet with a professional development coach?
Yes, I did when I first started. So, which was really interesting, because that's something that I found really hard to put together, because for me, I'm normally on the other end of that. I'm normally coaching other people because I work in recruitment. So it was really interesting having somebody ask me the kind of questions that I'm used to asking. And you tend to not really reflect that much, but I think that can really help. That reflective practice is important regardless of where you are in life and where you are in your career. And I think, having that development coach is excellent. And you mentioned the employability, and because of my industry, I've worked in recruitment for a really long time, and the amount of people that really, really struggle, and they could be highly educated people, but they have no idea how to make themselves employable, and it's very daunting. And a lot of universities that I'm aware of, people are completing their degree or their masters, and then they're leaving and thinking, now what? I really don't know where to start. But to have that add-on to your university course, where it's, not only are you going to leave with the qualification, but we're going to really support you and guide you so you know what to do afterwards, and you can begin networking, you can work on your CV, you can understand what interview questions might be asked, and having access to that for free, I think, is amazing.
I think that's such a good point to pick up, Danielle, because I've seen it firsthand as being the recruiter of staff, but also seeing how employers and graduate employers, particularly, what they're looking for. Having the academic qualification is one thing, but being able to demonstrate those interpersonal and professional skills is another. And it's great that you bring your experience as a recruitment business owner to actually see the value in our employability offering to our students, because actually that's what employers are looking for. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Danielle, tell me a bit about your tips. Some of our listeners will be considering studying online. What hints or tips would you give to those listeners to maximize their learning experience and boost their productivity whilst they're studying online?
I think Do you know, one of the first tips actually that I was given when I first joined the University of Law by my first lecturer, and she said, just use every single tool that is available to you, engage with everything that is available to you. Because you're enlisting on a course, but you're not on your own. You've got a huge network, you've got skills training, you've got employability. There are so many things that are going to be included in the course that you signed up for. So I think anybody that is you're registering or you're about to start your online study journey, definitely make sure that you fully verse yourself with what is actually available. Have those meetings with a development coach or your student journey coach. Talk to your lecturers and say, what else could I do to learn? And just make sure that be a sponge. Just suck any of that free information that's available to you. And I think that would definitely be something that I'd advise. In terms of people that might have signed on and they're worried about how they manage their time, there are many different tools available there again. And I remember a friend of mine mentioning, I think it's the Pomodoro technique, which is a form of it's a studying method, and it's about balancing time. So, for example, I think you spend 25 minutes on study, and then you have a break, and you repeat it 4 times or something. But there are loads of different techniques that are suited to many different types of people and different types of brains, because we don't all study in the same way. And you don't need to fit into a norm. You can just purely find something that works for you. But I think it's just really important to just embrace everything that's available to you and just absorb anything that you can.
I think making a schedule is so key, and sticking to it, but also building in regular breaks in between study is key. I remember when I was studying for my master's program online, as a former student online as well, my bedroom used to be very clean because I often would just distract myself with trying to do other activities and tasks. But it's about having that time built in to make sure that you can do the study, but also to have that vital breaks in between.
It is key. Yeah. And I think as well, something that I found really beneficial, because I'm self-employed, I work from home sometimes as well. Yeah. So I'm quite fortunate that I have an office. But even if you don't have an office, even if you're, like you said, in your bedroom, make your study area a little bit different to when you do work or when you're doing your laundry or your cooking. Because I think if you make it a safe study zone, you can immediately sort of fall into that pattern when you sort of go into your area and you're ready to study. But I think one of my employees is studying at the moment. She really struggles, actually. She's doing a lot of it in her workplace, and she's not moving the desk. She's not changing anything. And I think she struggles to turn off from work and turn on her study brain. So I think making your studying environment something just a little bit different, so you don't have those distractions that you've mentioned, I think that can be really helpful to some people.
I think that's a really good tool there to add to the kit, to actually, if you are working from home and you're in your everyday environment, to create one space that's focused on study. I think that's a really great tip for any student who's looking to study online. Thank you for sharing.
No, that's fine. No problem.
One of the concerns that some students may have is around how they'll be able to meet and engage with online communities of other students. Talk me through, I mean, have you joined our social media platforms? We have Facebook groups and other groups. We've got our societies and clubs. Have you engaged with any of those?
I don't do an awful lot of the engagement, but I'm really fortunate that I've got quite a strong network outside of it. However, I am very familiar. I have signed up to the Facebook page, the Instagram. I think social media is brilliant because I think it's a great way of, even courses that aren't relevant to me, I really love seeing other students that might have graduated, and you do feel part of the university. And if the university have got, a supportive post that they're doing, or, a congratulations post, it's really lovely to see that and know that you're part of that. And I think I've also noticed on Facebook, there's quite a few group chats as well for people that are on courses. And let's just say you're on a master's in law and you've got 10 other people added to your Facebook chat. You can all have discussions around, how's everyone getting on? How's everyone finding their studying, and support each other through those ebbs and flows. And I think that's really helpful. And again, I think the networking that you can do with the live sessions is something that I've probably taken advantage of more. That's been great to chat to people and really engage with people and bounce ideas off each other. It's been really nice because it's very difficult to simulate real university, but I think that's something that you guys do very, very well, and you do feel part of a community. And I know that whilst I might not do an awful lot of engagement at the moment, if I woke up tomorrow morning and thought, actually, do you know, I really, really could do with chatting to some people at the uni, there are multiple different avenues I could look at in order to do that.
Fantastic, Danielle. Thank you so much. My final question, we're nearly there. My final question is around anybody who's interested in joining one of our online programs. What would be some of the advice you would give them? You've already mentioned about creating that workspace and study space at home. Would there be any other advice you would give anybody considering joining the program?
Yeah, I think I was always given, for me, I think positive mindset is really important. And it sounds a little bit cheesy, but I always, and this is something I do with my staff, I always quote Henry Ford, and I say, whether you believe that you can do something or not, you're right. And I think that's a really great quote, because a lot of people, if you're in a negative mindset and you say, I can't do it, it's too hard, I don't have time, you can almost guarantee that one of those things is going to come. You know, you won't have time, and you're not in the right mindset. But I think if you're on the cusp of deciding whether to do online study, stop and think why do you want to do it? Is it because you might get paid more because you could have a better job at the end of it? Is it because you want to, purely for, learning, you love learning and you feel like that you've got a lot more growth that you could enable? Is it because you want to move into a completely different sector? No one ever chooses to study for a negative reason. So I think it's remembering that positive reason that is behind your chosen field, your chosen studying route, and being positive about it and saying, it might be hard sometimes, but well done me. Look at this. Look at the results that I've had so far, or look at this effort that I can put in. And remembering there are so many people out there that aren't in the same position as you. And I think it's just really important to keep that positive mindset and remember that you're doing it for a really good reason that's only going to benefit you in one way or another.
Fantastic. What a really nice way to end the podcast. So that leaves me, Danielle, to say thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey while studying one of our online programs. For listeners, if there are any questions, please visit our website and do be sure to follow us on our social media channels at ULaw. Tune in next time, where we have heard from 2 former students in episodes 1 and 2, but in our next episode, we'll be speaking to one of our fantastic online lecturers to hear her experience of delivering online sessions. But in the meantime, thank you all very much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.